Hello, everyone. Today's lesson is 10.3 extension. It's called Choosing Appropriate Measures. It's a short lesson. It should be done within 10 minutes. Let's get started. Okay, this is an extension of 10.3. We never covered 10.3, but we're supposed to cover this. It's part of our curriculum for this pre-algebra, but it's a short lesson. And today we're going to cover choosing appropriate measures of center and variation to represent data sets. And the key idea is below. Basically, you've got two main sections of this. And when you're choosing appropriate measures, you're going to use the mean absolute deviation, MAD. When you see the mean, it's calculated. So when the data distribution is symmetric, and we're going to cover that in a second. So we're going to use the mean to describe the center, and we're going to use the MAD to describe the variation. So the mean absolute deviation, MAD, is going when your data is symmetric, okay? We're going to use the interquartile range, IQR, when we have a data distribution that's skewed, okay? So if it's skewed to one side, we're going to use the interquartile range. So use the median to describe the center, and we're going to use the IQR to describe the variation. Okay, so these 2 points if it's symmetric, and these 2 points if it's skewed. So that's what you've got to remember from this lesson today, and it's a very short lesson. Let's look at example 1. Example 1 has a dot plot, and what this is a dot plot shows the average number of hours students in a class sleep each night. So you can see this dot plot here. You got the time in hours, you got the amount of sleep. So you have 6 hours, 6.5 hours, 7 hours, 7.5 hours, 7.5 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, and so forth. So as you can kind of see how this data lays out, okay, with this dot plot, you can kind of see how it out. You want to look at this distribution to make your determination on which measure you want to use. So it says, what are the most appropriate measure to describe the center and the variation? So as you can see this data is skewed to the right. It is skewed to the right. So we're going to be using the median and the IQR as the most appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation. So the median and the IQR would be used in this skewed data set. You can kind of like draw a line here. You can kind of see it goes up and down, but that is not, it's not the same on this side as on that side. So we've got a skewed data, and we're going to use the median and the IQR to help us describe this data. Okay, letter B. It asks us the question, describe the center and the variation of the data set. Okay, so we're going to describe the center and the variation of the data set. So here we're going to basically say the data are centered around 8.5. Okay, the middle half of the data varies no more than 1.5 hours. Okay, so roughly the middle part is at 8.5, but the middle half of the data varies no more than about 1.5 hours. So when you describe the center, we're going to use that median again, and that median would be at 8.5. And the middle half of varying would be at 1.5, which would be that measure of center. Okay, and the last example of this lesson has to do with a frequency table that's given to us. And basically on this frequency table over here, you've got bordering states, you got a frequency. Basically, this is a frequency table, shows the number of states that border each state in the United States. So if you have bordering states, 0 to 1, there's 3 times that takes place. 2 to 3, it's 13 times. 4 to 5, 22 times. 6 to 7, 10 times. 8 to 9, 2 times. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to display the data in a histogram. All right, so we're going to display it in a histogram to take a look at the data. And as you can see, excuse me there. So here's the histogram. So as you can see, the 0 to 1, you've got a frequency of 3. 2 to 3, you've got a frequency of 13. 4 to 5, you have a frequency of 22. 6 to 7, you have a frequency of 10. And 8 to 9, you have a frequency of 2. And by the looks of this histogram, you can almost tell that we've got ourselves almost like a perfect mountain, so to speak. Okay, it's very symmetric. So it's the same on the left as the same on the right. So that's good to know, though, because if it is symmetric and we're choosing which way to describe it, we're going to choose this based upon the mean absolute deviation. So it's the mean we're focusing on. We're focusing on the mean for this data because it's symmetric. It's the same on the left as on the right. And we're looking for the MAD. So we're looking for the mean and the mean absolute deviation are the most appropriate measures to describe the center and the variation of the data. So as I mentioned, this is a very short little video today on 10.3 extension, which is choosing the appropriate measure. And what you're going to want to remember from this lesson today is that if you have something that is symmetric, the data that's symmetric, you want to look to use the mean to describe the center, and you're going to want to use the MAD to describe the variation. And if you have some data that is skewed, and we've talked a little bit about that, we're going to use the median to describe the middle, describe the center, and then we're going to use the IQR to describe the variation. So hopefully this video was helpful. Take a look at your assignment that's going to be due on Friday. You're doing a great job, and miss you all. Hope to see you soon. Take care now.